Yo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed. The vortex. Yo, what's happening? Peace, peace, peace. Cyclonius, host of the Verbal Vortex Show, and this is another show of Real Talk with Kevin. Next to me we have Kevin. So this right now is episode what I call current affairs, because we're just dealing with currently what's been going on, and we're just coming post of Charlie Kirk's assassination and just other things that's been happening across the globe. I think like ripple effects, I'd say, from that situation. So yeah, this is an open platform for people to send us some messages so we can read it afterwards. It could be questions, could just be points of views, so that the community can just have their moment to express themselves. So yeah, let's jump into some questions that I wrote down. I want you to start from an angle of like just being a person, being a human, and you know, that's what way. So just as regular people, just trying to live our lives, bro. How does this assassination end up shaping the conversations in our homes and communities?
I think that's dependent on the demographic, really. You know, your social class as well. Most of the time, I think for a lot of black people, I can't generalise because I haven't talked to the whole population. But the protests, Charlie Kirk's murder, and what's going on in America as well, generally, and over here, it just seems to be a convergence of social unrest, and it's very much directed. It feels like a lot of the time, all right, there's always the word immigration, but it's this Muslim undertone a lot of the time. And I think for people from a Muslim background, there'll be a lot of fear and animosity. From a black perspective, a sort of limbo state where, especially in Britain, where you're unsure, you've been here for a very long time now, and sort of socially accepted on a certain level. It's not perfect, of course there's still inequalities, but you don't know where you stand with all this going on, because you seem to be accepted on the street. But on TV and the media with the protests, it sounds like you're also talking to us as well. So it feels a bit weird, and that will be felt by the Muslim community as well. Those indigenous people that have been born in Britain, they're wondering like, all right, I'm British, I'm a British Muslim, so, but I know that I may get chased down or something could potentially happen to me. For different sets of white people, it'd be different. They like to say left and right. I hate that sort of divide again. But those that may consider themselves to be left or have a certain mindset on politics and how people should live may say, you know, what's going on here? Why are these protests? We're all humans, blah, blah, blah. While on the other side, some people are saying we need to get them out of the country, you know. So I think the conversations are different across the board. But for me, as a human, and as a person that's, I think, empathetic and thinks about other people. I mean, something funny happened the other day, and I've got this thing, I'm sorry to spin off, but me and my missus talk, because I'm always approached, when I go shopping, like in Morrison's, people approach me and say, excuse me, can you help me? It happens all the time. They think I work at Morrison's. So the lady chased me down yesterday and said to me, excuse me, are you the manager here? Yeah, I was dressed up in work clothes, in a shirt and that. And I said, no, I'm not. I came out of Morrison's and some lady approached me again, another lady, because I've got this sort of attraction power for helping people. I don't know what it is. So the lady approached me and said, oh, I've got no money, blah, blah, blah. Can you help me? And she produced £1. She goes, I've only got £1. So I said, I haven't got any money, lady, I've just got a card. So she goes, oh, all I want is food, chicken and bread. I said, come on then, let's go and get the chicken and bread. So she started talking to me. She goes, how old are you? I told her, blah, blah. We had a conversation. Went and bought her a chicken. I told her to get the bread. Then she asked for something else. I said, lady, I ain't got that much money. She was like, all right. I said, where are you from? She's from Romania. We talked. She goes, she got 5 kids. That's how life's supposed to be. It doesn't matter what demographic you're from. Just as long as someone needs help, you're supposed to be able to help. It doesn't matter about anything.
Yeah.
If a person's in need, black, white, whatever, you should have enough empathy and not overwhelmed with hate in your heart towards other people, that you're willing to help people generally, and that's not the state the globe's in at the moment.
Right, so for the average man working 9 to 5, what's the real impact of these rallies, riots and marches? Is it just headlines, or does it filter into everyday safety and policing?
I think everyday safety, there's people that feel unsafe at the moment. You know, whether you're going to work in the morning feeling that you might get attacked for whatever reason, because for me, I you know, if you're a British-born Muslim, British-born black person, a British-born person of any denomination, yeah, that isn't white British, you might feel scared getting up in the morning, going to work, coming home from work. So it's quite difficult to, I think, function nowadays in a state of ease. There's so much unrest at the moment that it's sort of, you know, as a therapist, I can understand how much it's going to unsettle your well-being and affect your well-being.
Just again, as you know, for the people that's joined, you know, please take this opportunity to any questions I throw out there. If you have a thought or feeling about them, just send in a message, and hopefully you can read it out at the end, and then you can have your say too. So I was going to ask you, like, isn't it ironic that a white male assassinated Charlie Kirk, but now we see the far right marches against immigrants and so-called minorities?
Now, you can have different stances on this. Charlie Kirk's a human, he's a man, he was outspoken. A lot of people may not have agreed with what he was saying, especially when there was this feeling that he was inciting racial hatred. But no one deserves to be murdered, firstly, not at all. And some people may say it's karma and whatever else, yeah, but Charlie Kirk had a family, and you know, you're allowed to speak out, but there's a perverseness to the speaking out, because what does the speaking out incite? If I was anti-white and I was speaking, oh, whites are slave masters, blah blah blah, we know that's not true. There's a history. Present day white people aren't slave masters. There's a lot of slavery going on in the world. There's 40 to 50 million people in enslavement through trafficking and whatever else, but those are different people doing it all across the world. So the white slave master time, as we know from the transatlantic slave trade, is gone. So if I was speaking that rhetoric right now, what would happen to me? And how would people respond to me? And you know that there's a situation where nothing much has changed in regards to the divide from white and black, slave and slave master, colonizer and colonized. Nothing much has changed in that respect. So even the treatment of black people, whenever something's going down, there's always a disparity in the treatment. I watched something today with Piers Morgan and this guy Amazing Lucas, the first time I'd seen him. And they were debating about Charlie Kirk, and this guy had put out some memes that seemed a bit close to the mark, like they're taking the mickey out of Charlie Kirk's death. But this guy was saying, you know, when it was Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, these things have been put out, but it was acceptable. Now Charlie Kirk, who was putting out racist rhetoric to a certain, you know, against gay, transgender, Jews, blacks, whoever, yeah, has now been sort of idolized in a certain sense. They're looking at him with whatever he's saying, that this is the worst atrocity ever. When other people have been killed over time that have not been speaking out in a particular way, but memes have been put out and nothing's been said. I think sometimes with black people, I'm just going in this direction, that because we've accepted so much, you need to accept a little bit more without standing up and protesting or doing anything or having a quiet protest. We had the marches the other day, which was a farce to say the least in my eyes, because, and I can't remember all of them. So the British values are rule of law, tolerance, what else are they? My God. Anyway, whatever they are, because I've forgotten them. When they went out and protested, because it's all about British values, yeah, democracy as well, it's all about British values. So when you go out and protest in the name of British values, what do? Do you beat up your own police that are policing society to keep you safe? You don't do that, but that happened. Do you go and show that you can be so dysregulated that it doesn't matter? I'll show you that I've got no British values, because you see them urinating all over the place. You can see that they want the immigrants out, but they're going to buy the Indian or whatever during the rally. Like, there's the living contradiction that's going on here. You either want, what are British values? Because that's not showing British values. You know, so for me, sometimes there's a perverse ideology that's going on in people's head, that they want something in one hand, but they're doing something else in the next. So it can become quite confusing, because I think we can go back to Windrush, from the landing of the 800 odd people that came on Windrush and the influx of people that came afterwards. I know how black people and black young children were brought up in the home. Have manners, good behaviour, whatever else. We adhered to those values, but it seems like those values aren't adhered by the people that talk about them a lot. You know, so it's a pretty unsettling situation we're in now, because for me especially, I'm a person that wants to help people. I like helping people, but people on the street may look at me randomly. I might get jumped. I'm not a person that likes helping people. What am I going to say? I don't jump me, I like helping people. That's something's going to happen to me. You know, over what? Because you think I'm an immigrant, because I'm black and I don't adhere to British values. You know, so for me it's quite upsetting. If you have a collective bunch of friends that are on the same page when it comes to caring about people, and beyond that it seems to get even more violent and insidious, you're wondering where you stand in all of this.
Guys, again, please, you know, if you have any thoughts and feelings about what we're talking about, just message us and we can go through and just read out some of what you say. Going back into that, you know, the question just nicely follows that. In this moment, exposing how exposing how deep the double standards run when it comes to race violence and who gets blamed?
Of course. I think, you know, any time a black person or any person of any denomination outside of white does something, you know, demonise, stigmatise, all these words can be attached to that. But if a white person does something, and you've seen it time and time again, nothing much happens. You know, it's like, and America's a prime example with the police force and police brutality. You know, it's only when Chauvin, the guy that, is it Derek Chauvin, that when he killed George Floyd, and those police there, before that you never saw any prosecution of police. Over here you hardly saw any prosecution of police when it came to, you know, if you got law enforcement that's supposed to be looking after society on a certain level, committing heinous crimes, and not the same people that you represent are not doing their job properly by criminalising or convicting you. Of course there's this double standard, because someone else that's not even working for law enforcement or the police does something, they're going straight into prison. So for me, sometimes there should be a worse punishment. It's like a doctor that's doing operations, but he's killing people on purpose. If you're knowingly killing people as a doctor, because you've been put in a space where you're supposed to be trying to save life, but you're killing people, shouldn't you get some sort of, shouldn't there be some sort of justice for that?
Yeah, some form of repercussion.
Yeah.
How different do you reckon it would be if the assassination had been done by a black or a Muslim person?
You know why I'm laughing? Because it was, it was highlighted after the Charlie Kirk murder, the protest or the rally or whatever you want to call it in America, white men fight back. It was highlighted by the comedian Godfrey, and he was quite upset about it. And he was saying, fight back against who? Because it was a white guy that done it, so who are you fighting back against? But we can all assume and feel very confident in assuming that if it was a black man, all hell would have broken loose. Because what happens, the level that we're demonized or stigmatized is far more intense than what happens to a white person. It doesn't really happen that much, not in the way that we get it. Anytime there's a crime or any sort of act, it's like, yeah, they're a monster, they're a savage, blah, blah, blah. That's the sort of narrative that seems to be spun. On the other hand, when something's done, it's like in the States, you see it a lot in the States, when white person's committed a crime, maybe at a college campus or whatever, they buy him a cheeseburger, take him to the station or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, a black person gets killed on the spot or does a triple life sentence. The disparity is evident, and people recognise it, and that's why a lot of people. It's funny because there's these conversations about black people always being upset, this misery card, oh woe is me and all that, but Runnymede report and other inequality reports show the level of inequality in society and what's going on. Yeah. So we know definitely there's inequalities in society, but those inequalities permeate even the media. The political realm, it permeates everywhere. There's still no rest for people that aren't white a lot of the time, but there's something, it's funny because there's something that James Baldwin said, white people exist in a history they don't understand. There's a perspective they don't understand because of white privilege. And white privilege is not about money. It's about, and it was eloquently said in this program a long time ago by this lady, I can't remember her name, white privilege is not having to deal with the consequences of racism. They don't have to deal with that. So the things that we see in society, they don't feel or see. We feel it and see it. We feel the look. We hear the slight, the negative slight. We hear the condescending tone. There's things that we experience that white people don't experience. So, but what it is, have an understanding that we're not lying.
Yeah.
Because there's always this defensive stance with white people. When white people hear the word racism, not all of you, yeah, there's this feeling, are you talking about me? Defensive feeling, or an attack back on you. Why? I'm not saying that you're racist. Even if I talk in a particular way about racism, you think that I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about you. And racism generally, as a system, is classist. That's why I don't understand why those at the lower levels of society that are involving themselves in the protest don't understand that all of us working class and underclass are controlled by the top end of the social strata. So why can't we band together for our lives to be better, rather than being controlled like puppets with this divide and conquer, divide and rule situation that's still going on today?
Yeah. So let me just adjust that so we don't get no more interruptions. I want to ask you, should melanated people or people of colour be worried more about racist attacks on the streets because of this heightened tension?
I think so. I think people are uncertain of what to do. I mean, it's weird that even me, I was shopping the other day, I was in Sainsbury's the other day, just looking at people walking around wondering what they're thinking. Because I'm thinking something. Yeah? So you're in the shop next to me, what are you thinking? I'm an immigrant, I shouldn't be in the country. Why should I be thinking like that anyway? Why should I be feeling like that? Are you thinking like that in the shop while you're next to me? You know, there's an uncertainty that's unsettling for you day to day. So you know, across the UK population, there's loads of people out there that are, whether they're shopping, whether they're going down the street with their child, they're worried. What's going to happen to me on the street? You know, I saw one footage where in the march there was a big white, he looked like a teenager, and some others running after this Asian lady, chasing her down. Like, what's that about?
How can communities protect themselves from both political violence and racist backlash?
You know, we're quite, you know, it's upsetting because it always seems to be that violence is brought forward a lot of the time, or towards a certain set of people, or very racist talk. Now, I think there's lots of people that can absorb all that, but there's a lot of people, it's an eye for an eye situation. A lot of the time, that's the sort of bottom line, baseline stance for a lot of people, because what else can I do in light of the adversity I'm facing? So I think on a political level though, it'd be about everyone getting together. Like I said, the underclass and the working class, and those in the middle class that ended up in the working class after COVID, unfortunately, need to band together. I mean, Karl Marx said that there was going to be a revolution. The poor are going to, as a consequence of capitalism, and an uprising. I think there should be a formulated uprising that isn't violent and savage and people going on the street wrecking the place. But you have people that are nominated that can speak the political language and can speak eloquently and know about policy and procedure and can go into the House of Commons and represent the people on the ground level. I mean, it's like the system's the same everywhere. Systems in schools and that are always top down and never bottom up. So it's always hard for the person at the bottom to have a voice. But that's what's needed here. White, black, Muslim, everyone together could set up a party, because what I'm worried about as well is, you know, it's not only about the process, but it's underpinned by people like Nigel Farage and Reform and what they represent as well. So why can't there be a political party for the working class man and woman, you know, that benefits their economic, political and social well-being?
Do these Unite the Kingdom marches really unite anyone, or are they just another way to divide the country along race and class lines?
Yeah, I think, you know, that division is something that, because we don't really know really what the plan is at the top. But we see it play out with the division in different ways, you know. So I think the division itself feels orchestrated, because that is how you keep control of people. So it's quite strange that there's so much information that we're not privy to, but you can see it played out in society, you see it played out in the media, but also what happens, there's diversionary tactics. So you might focus on the marches and that while something else is going on, and that emerges later, and then you're like, oh my God, we were looking at that, and then this has happened.
Yeah.
So it's very, it's very clever what's orchestrated, but the divide and conquer practice has, slavery started, the transatlantic slave trade started in 1441, and we could have that as a starting point for that divide. Even in, I think it's Bacon's Rebellion, why's my memory bad today, in America, when the white and black slaves were going to rise up and get together because they were upset about the treatment. What did they do? They gave the white slaves positions over the black slaves. So now they started treating the black slaves bad, but they liked that position because they weren't treated as slaves anymore. But the same sort of orchestration of society goes on now, So sometimes there's diversions and illusions and moral panics instilled into people. You watch the show, you don't want to go out on the street, you're scared of everything. So, yeah, it's quite a complex situation.
What message would you say does this send out to hard-working young people of colour watching all of this unfold? Is it that their voices don't matter, or is it that they're targets no matter what?
I think capitalism's quite a consuming thing, so I think for some people they're not even bothered. Generationally, there are people that are in tune with their history and have got a certain level of social awareness where this is very hurtful. Some young people nowadays, they're on that level because of their parenting and what's been taught to them over time. So they're aware socially and they're feeling it, they don't like it, but there's some other young people that are just immersed in the capitalist way of being. It's about the money, it's about the job, it's about my car, it's about my flat, it's about this, that and the next. So it doesn't really mean much to some young people, you know what I mean? So I think for different generations it means something different. I know that if I was still existing and still living from the Windrush generation, from what I've gone through to see things go back full circle, it feels like, it'd be very upsetting. What's going on now? But there's a time of human development where we're developing technologically, developing sociologically and psychologically in our minds, So, but then society seems to be going back to savagery and more intensified racism and discrimination on a certain level.
With Elon Musk jumping into the situation of throwing fuel on the fire, if you want to call it that, what does it mean when billionaires with massive platforms stir up racial and political division?
I talked about class before.
Yep.
You can do what you want. That's it, and you have an impact, but no one says anything to you. No one can say anything to you. At the top end, people can do and say what they like with not much repercussion. So we can talk about Elon Musk all day, but Elon Musk, there's protective factors around him. He's got money, and he's of a certain class. There's a lot of people that can say what they want at the top end and not much happen to them. It's like that time, and this is a different example. Look at Wiley. What happened with Wiley? There was some talk about anti-Semitism. You didn't hear from Wiley for a good while. He'd been ostracised on a different level. And again, that is sort of the treatment of a certain set of people. Some people will say something and they'll get that treatment, and some people will say all they want
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Or hailed as a martyr in wake of their death.
How does what happens here in the UK connect with racial justice struggles in the US and globally?
I think there's always been a connection. I mean, from the days of slavery, there's always been a deep-rooted connection. Even though there was at one time they were warring, the British and Americans, they've always had a close connection. We've taken a lot of their culture on board on a certain level. We've replicated things in music in a certain way.
Yeah.
We've replicated things in regards to fashion in a certain way. And in society with gang culture, we've replicated that as well. So I think there's a very close connection. It's funny that you'll see a protest in the States and then you'll see a protest over here. More recently, that there seems to be some sort of some common sort of connection in timeline. So you might have a week before, they'll have a protest over there, and then a week later they'll have a protest over here. So there's this real deep-rooted stance in regards to the political realm operating in a particular way. Well, Trump was here the other day, and you see that how connected they are. It doesn't matter how people see Trump over here, because Trump has got so much power and seems so untouchable that it always feels that when Trump enters any stage and comes to England, people bow down to Trump. I'm quite wary of him, whether it's Keir Starmer or whoever. It just feels like that.
How do we stop tragedies like this from being weaponized against communities that have nothing to do with them?
I don't think there's stopping anything. We can't stop anything. I think it's hard work. I mean, it's like crime. Society can't really exist without crime. You can't stop crime, So it's about a message being put out to those people that feel upset about immigration. They need the real facts. What's dangerous nowadays is social media. Social media spews out little drip, bite-sized bits of facts that are inaccurate. Then people latch onto it like it's gospel, and it starts snowballing. People start moving in a certain direction. Stop listening to rubbish on social media. Stop being corrupted by what's being put out there. Talk to people. It's upsetting for me because on this planet we should all be connected by one thing, and that's love, really. I know the planet is in the worst state because there's more good than bad going on the planet. But we should have enough insight in regards to being human and treating other people like how you would want to be treated, to do that on a daily basis. For me, it's like, it actually feels sometimes, it's like with racism, it actually feels like mental illness, especially the extreme end of it. What's it all about? Is there a lot of people out there that are suffering from mental illness? That's why they're so invested in attacking other people, whether verbally or physically. I don't know. For me, a lot of the time now, just existing, watching what's being played out, I have to think about my children. How are they going to exist in a society if it continues in this direction? How's your kid going to exist in society?
And I want to ask you, what conversations should we all be having with our children right now about what they're seeing in the news, etc.?
I think it depends on. I love my children to be children. I hate that we live in an era now where people want to moan about their children behaving in a certain way, but you're feeding them the ammunition by giving them certain information. I don't think you always need to feed your children information to sort of instill a fake type of adult personality into them. It's dangerous to unload information into children too early. So it's like me, and I teach my children black history, but I haven't really taught them about the transatlantic slave trade too much. I've just touched on little bits because the crimes were so heinous and it's so unsettling that I don't need to feed my children with that in their mind, so it takes them on a different emotional journey. I think some of that stuff you don't even, unless you just say to your kids, be aware around you because people are acting a certain way, but don't feed them all the stuff that makes them worried and scared. But young children are supposed to live free and happy. That's the beauty of being a child. Other people will have different ideas. It's just like in schools. Should you teach them about transgender, blah, blah, blah? People are opposed to that. Some people say yes. So really, that is very subjective. People are going to do what they're going to do based on their family history and their feelings generally. But whatever you do, it's got to benefit not only your child and yourself, but the people outside of you and the people in the community.
Do marches counter protests or staying at home keep people safer, or is silence just giving space for hate to grow?
It is in some respect. It is giving it is given a platform for hate to grow. But protest, it's very hard with protest because you should be allowed to say what you want to say. Bottom line. But it's the impact of what you're saying. Think about what you're saying. Look at the data. I want immigrants out. I want, a lot of the people that are talking about immigration don't know what's really going on with immigration. I can talk about immigration in a layman's sense because I don't really know what's going on with immigration. But if I don't know properly what's going on, and I see little bits of news, I can jump under the bandwagon quite quickly of saying, all right, get them out.
Yeah.
You need real facts. You need real information before you start going out there and doing strange things, I'd say.
I agree. I agree. Funny enough, I've come up to the last question for you, bro. And it's just to sum it all up with what we've been talking about. In real life, what can the average person do? Not politicians, not billionaires, just ordinary working people to push back against the rise of hate and division.
Like I said before, it is about love, and it is about kindness, it's about caring, it's about empathy, and I think it's about spreading the message. There's not much you can do at the moment because with people that have got a certain stance in regards to things, sometimes it's quite hard to talk to them. I mean, and I don't class myself in any way, shape or form as the most intelligent person on the planet. But there are some people that you talk to, they seem to lack the intelligence to even process information in a way that works for them. They're so anti-everything that even when you give them information, it's like, I don't care. Yeah, and they're still moving forward with the same thing.
Would you say that they lack awareness as well?
Definitely lack of awareness. But what's upsetting about the whole thing is that basically the socialization process has created those people. Systemically, through families, they've learnt through generations. Hate. Bottom line. Being conditioned in that way and then unconditioning that take years. Their belief system are fully immersed in a certain way of being. I don't like you, you should get out, blah, blah, blah. So to turn that around, it's going to take a little while. Especially when you congregate with a group of people that have that same mindset.
I want to know, like, what do you think about, like, just, you see how we're having this general conversation?
Yeah.
You know, and we do every week, we choose topics, we speak about them. Do you think that the average person is lacking these conversations? I wouldn't say, you know, maybe not in their group, but I'm saying, like, with just diverse people, different people.
I think so. I mean, society's got to such a stage now that people are worried about their bills. There's other things that they're worried about. This is quite minor. It's only, you know, with people with a different level of social awareness, this is upsetting. Some people ain't got no electric, they ain't got no gas. Other things are going on. Daily they're in a grind. Even down to, you know, I use myself, they're doing some building work. I can't even park on my road. It's irritating. There's all little things building up that make you not even concern yourself with what's going on out in society at the moment. So you've got different fractions of people that are feeling different about things. Some people are really upset about the protesting and what's going on. Some people can't care about that because I've got my bills to pay, etc., etc. We're in serious times at the moment, and the thing is, because there seems to be no respite, it's only going to get more and more serious. The divide in the social strata now is getting mad. There's, just like America's been replicated, extreme poverty and extreme wealth. You know, what's going to happen? And that's why when the poverty starts hitting harder, that's when racism starts rising up even more. People at the top know that.
Definitely.
They don't want the people at the bottom unifying themselves and then having a voice that's proactive and positive for their well-being of their community and society. They'd rather them be at each other's throats, and then we can control you a bit better, and we can control you a bit better. You know, for me, it's just an upsetting state of affairs, and I know that you can have conversations with people across the board, and they'll have a different view about how they see the situation at hand right now. You know, so we're talking from one perspective or answering from one perspective, but you know, some people have very strong views from another perspective.
All right. Well, let's have a look to see what if anybody's viewed any of their opinions or have got a question, and if not, we could just close the show with maybe a thought from you about the whole situation, Kev. Yeah, I guess a lot of people are just watching, a lot of people are joined. No, I don't see no questions. I thought especially with something as techy as this, as the streets would call it, yeah, that someone would have something to say, or just share something we might have missed. Someone said that, did he just say that's how you control people? There's easier ways to control people. That's from someone called, sorry bro, perhaps, or maybe. What do you mean by that? Like, what are you trying to convey there about ways to control people? Obviously, there's loads of ways people do control people, but maybe you can give us a bit more light into that. Yeah, that was like that person. I think that person's the only one who gave that real that real question. But yeah, there's many ways that people control people. I guess that this is just maybe.
I think a political form of control that's been practiced over centuries. You know, not wrong. There are different ways to control people, but the masses, it's a good practice for, you know, for those in power.
I hear you, brother. But anyway, we're going to keep it pushing. This has been another episode of Real Talk with Kevin. Thanks for everybody who tuned in, and we hope to see you next week. Remember, guys, don't feel no way to send in any of your questions, or maybe you might even have an idea of a topic that we can speak about. You know, just send a DM in, or I guess on my platforms, I have the email there for you to contact me. Just send in your stuff and let's build. Brother, again, for the people watching, how can they reach you?
You can reach me at therapy.im.me@gmail.com. I have got a phone number, but I can't remember it. So, but you can reach me by that, and next time I'll have my phone number here, so you can reach me. But I think one thing I want to say, we're all human. We all have a capacity to love. We all have the capacity to hate. The world is a better place when we're all connected in a positive way. Why would you want to exist in a realm of anger and hate every day because someone's got different hair colour, different skin colour? Like, it's madness. That's why I said before, it feels like mental illness sometimes. Let go of the anger for no apparent reason. You know, some of the things that have been taught in families are wrong. That was based on their experiences, and they've passed it down to you, making you absorb that and then live. They're living their life through you, and now you've got that anger. Let it go. You know, whether someone's Chinese, West Indian, Asian, whatever, we're all humans. We all love the same. We all do the same things. We all bleed the same. We need to be better.
100%, brother. And thank you for closing with that one.
No problem.
Love.
Nice there.
Hey yo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed. The vortex.